What's up, Dan? What's up, Joe, Phil, Mike? And for anyone that watches this that is not a part of the Oculus platform store team, my name is Todd Hebenstreet, and I am a designer currently working in-house here at Oculus. So let's get to this presentation. I want to discuss some ideas I had for improving the VR store user experience. Here I have a mock-up of the UI I recreated in Photoshop. Obviously, it's not exactly accurate. Our real background is a fully rendered CG scene, and the actual VR interface is more curved and wraps around you a bit as you're in a 3D space. My version is flat. Other than that, though, I think I nailed this pretty accurately, and those differences won't have any impact on what I want to convey. So for starters, we can see the UX has some redundancy. We have metadata titles that pop up over the panels that already have the titles displayed. This is one of two problems Joe has asked me to look into. What do we do with this extra clutter? We have the second titles because in reality, or should I say virtual reality, the panels tend to blur a bit. Due to the nature of VR and the lenses in the headsets, text does not read well, especially smaller or intricate typography. In the case of this LeBron James Striving for Greatness video, the title becomes completely unreadable while in VR. This is not uncommon. There are several cover art panels that have this issue, hence the extra metadata titles. While they are redundant most of the time, like in the case of Titans of Space, they are completely necessary for titles like LeBron. Without the metadata titles, users would have no way of knowing what these titles are. So I guess having extra clutter is the lesser of two evils, but still it's not great. So this is the first issue I'm going to attempt to deal with. The second issue Joe wanted me to tackle is that gear users in the VR space are buying titles they don't realize they need controllers for. This is even an issue when they are on the flat mobile version of the store, but much less so because the titles are at least labeled as needing controllers. Maybe we need to label them louder, but again, the info is there. In VR, we don't even really get that, at least not readily available. In fact, it took me a good while to figure this out. First, we have to select a title, then click on it with the headset touchpad or some other input. Once we do that, we are taken to the title's landing page, which looks something like this. Again, obviously the real one's better, but this will do. So on this page, we at least get the price, but even this doesn't let us know if we need a controller or extra peripheral. We have to then select the details panel and drill into that. Now we get a details page. As you can see, 5 rows down, we are told if this game needs a controller or not. Now this info is without a doubt way too buried. This is something a user is going to need to know much easier. I would argue even the price is a bit hard to get to. So this is the second problem. How do we get this info out from under this mountain? So lastly, I would like to point out a third problem I see a fair bit of. Orion Trail, seen bottom left here, has a great piece of cover art with a strong layout. Unfortunately, that layout / title is marred and covered by the metadata I was talking about earlier. Now this is because these developers did not follow our best practices guide to making title cover art, and they certainly did not test their cover under the Safe Zones template I made a while back either. If they had, they would have seen they failed by putting their pertinent info in the lower 20% of their cover panel. Despite repeated attempts at educating developers, they continue to do this. It is so common that even Oculus titles fail the Safe Zone test. This is us. These guys are literally in the same room as us. I'm looking at them as I write this. I'm starting to feel that if we can't reach these guys, we are certainly going to fall short reaching studios all over the world. It'd be nice to just find a way around this system. Plus, I feel like taking the bottom 20% of space from a cover is asking a bit much. So this is the third problem I would like to solve. So this is pretty tricky. We have the issue of too much clutter, but the thing is we sort of have to have it. So how do we find a way to keep it but lose it at the same time? The second problem is that necessary info, like whether or not a game requires a specific peripheral, is buried way too deep in the UI. And lastly, the cover art issue I just mentioned concerning violating safe zones. Like I said, pretty tricky. Fortunately, I have an idea that can hopefully deal with all of these issues. I would like to point out that currently we have a kind of hover state that we get when we move the focus cursor over a panel. Focus cursor is what I'm calling the small ring that sits at the center of your vision in VR. This basically mirrors the mouse cursor on a regular screen, except you move it by rotating your head instead of moving your mouse. The current hover state we activate now highlights the edge of our selected panel with a glare effect. It also activates the scroll of a title that is truncated, such as LeBron James Striving for Greatness. While these cues are useful, I don't think we are getting a lot of bang for our buck on this functionality. I think we can do better. So what I would like to do is remove all the current metadata and clutter. Let's start with a nice clean screen. Then when we roll over a panel with our focus cursor, I would like to maybe see a drawer slide up as a rollover state. This would be a quick clean action. In the drawer, we could have the title, but we could also have other important info. We could have an icon that lets the user know that this game requires a controller. And who knows? Maybe the system is smart enough to know if a controller is present. If one is not, we could even give another cue that it is missing. We could possibly put the product's file size here. I feel like people on the gear using the limited space of a phone might want to know this. And of course, we can put the price. As I said earlier, I think this is something that should be readily available. And now it is at a glance, literally. So if we did something like this, we could potentially get all three problems taken care of. This gets rid of unnecessary clutter, this unburies the controller info, and lastly, this means we can open up most of the safe zone area on the cover art and let developers have their freedom back. We will still use the top right corner for banners, but most of the time developers steer clear of that area anyway. I think this approach might very well kill 3 very large problematic birds with just 1 stone. And to be clear, I'm not saying this is the best end all. I would like to test it. I'm sure there are cons to this approach. It may be that people don't like drawers opening up wherever they look, or maybe we need to turn the cursor invisible when it's on a panel. But as of right now, I feel the pros greatly outweigh the cons. I think this is pretty strong. So maybe we can look into something like this. Like I said, I think this solves a lot of our problems. Thanks for your time, guys. Get at me and let me know what you think.